Hardcore Tv, Episode 7 and Episode 8 from May of 1993. Episode 7 taking place May 18th, 1993. We are coming off a historic Episode 6 of ECW, where finally the reign of the Super Destroyers has ended. We are no longer having to sit through their matches, hopefully. They are no longer the champions. I wanted to look something up. So I looked up how long were they tag champs, because when the show started, Jimmy Snuka was crowned the first TV champion, but Sandman and Super Destroyers were already champions, meaning that they had been champions in this promotion before this promotion got a TV deal. Now they lost the titles in episode 6. They had 7, 14, 42 days. I had to sit through and watch them as champions, and I was ready to throw myself out of a window. I looked up to see how long was their actual reign. I only saw 42 out of the 280 days they were champions. Holy fuck, if I had to sit for that entire 280-day reign, I would have not been doing this review. This would have been over. Fuck the Super Destroyers. And now Stevie Wonderful and Jay Scully welcome us to the show. They won down the card tonight, and Paulie dangerously comes out. Paul Heyman asked why is Todd Gordon killing ECW? Todd, taking offense and knowing the bullshit coming out of Heyman's mouth about killing ECW, came out. Paul said, you don't know how easily... Wait, what the fuck? Paul said Todd doesn't know who he's dealing with. Todd says he won't be able to throw his weight around in ECW like he did every other promotion he worked in. I guess taking a shot at WCW. Heyman's telling him to take a swing at him, and Don Morocco walks out and sort of just bumps Todd Gordon, letting him know that he's there. So Todd Gordon backs down, saying Paul Heyman got the better of him tonight, but only tonight, with his big muscle Don Morocco out there. Paul Heyman said, "Oh, Don, I guess you upset the commissioner." And Don says, "Glad I did. I hope I did." He said he's been in every federation. He says he understands, he respects the fact, he realizes that Paul Heyman is the smartest manager there ever was. So why can't Todd Gordon understand and respect that Don Morocco should be his world champion? He called out the Sandman, said there was only room for one surfer. He told the Sandman to find his guts and put the title on the line. And then Paul Heyman and Don Morocco told Jay Scully to set it to commercial. I guess Jay didn't do it fast enough for them because they kept telling them to wrap it up, and Jay just had to keep on talking. There was a fucking look back at the ECW tag title match from last week. My only note on this was, oh god, they were playing the whole match again. This is some sort of sick fucking joke on me when I thought I was done with them. So as they played the entire match again, I just looked at my phone. This will be a shorter episode 7 because, it took around 8 minutes off of this 40-minute episode. Our opening contest tonight is Eddie Gilbert and Jimmy Snuka beating up their favorite punching bag, JT Smith, and his partner of the week, Max Thrasher. Isn't this the same match as last week? I asked. It is. I looked it up, and why the fuck did they book this again? Well, only if I knew that there was an angle coming out of this match. JT and Max work Eddie's arm with tagged arm ringers. Max looks horrible. They try to keep working over Eddie, but Eddie fights back with an eye poke. He starts throwing shots with his own injured arm that they've been working over. JT gets tagged back in, but don't mean shit, because Eddie just beats him up. JT accidentally kicks Max off the apron. They do a little more. JT goes to run the ropes, but Max trips JT. Yes, the angle involving the guys in this match were between Max Thrasher and JT Smith. Eddie hits a backbreaker, and Jimmy comes off the top rope with a Superfly Splash to win. Jimmy literally hit only one match in this move. Eddie stopped selling his arm after a bit. Who could possibly care about a Max Thrasher heel turn? Overall, this opening match sucked. Terry Funk is on the farm. He said he joked about Eddie a lot, but the Texas Chain Massacre is a dangerous match. He's been in several, hasn't been seen in several years in the United States. The text bottom on the screen said the winner of this will be crowned the King of Philly. And alright, promo. It was more of a promo on a match and not the insane ramblings of the past two Terry Funk promos, so kind of a disappointment. The Suicide Blondes are backstage. They're back from a tour of England. Said the Queen made them Sir Christopher Candido and Sir Jonathan Hotbody. Which leads us to our second match of the night. Sir Christopher Candido and Sir Jonathan Hotbody take on the tag team champions Larry Stenson and Tony Winters. Every time Tony is announced, he stands on the middle rope and he does a little pew-pew thing with his arms because he's a hitman, Tony Stenson, or Tony the Hitman, since I forgot what order it was. They start off with the faces beating up the heels early on. They give Candido an atomic drop and he bumps into Johnny Hotbody. Tony and Larry were finally able to hit their famed tag move, the punch to the gut into the running neckbreaker that Tony fucked up to an unbelievable degree. Sal Balemo comes out and he's just walking around ringside. He's wearing a mask and they say that, oh boy, it's Super Destroyer 3, which is not what the fuck I need in my life. It's another goddamn Super Destroyer. There's a horrible dropkick by Larry to Johnny Hotbody. They keep fighting. Eventually, Hotbody and Candido take back over, but they mistime a double elbow. Hotbody elbows him, and Larry falls over before Candido can even connect with his elbow. They keep working over Larry, and Hotbody with a bad heel kick where he Irish whips Larry into the ropes. He turns around and just stands still, and with no momentum behind him, just lifts his feet and swings his feet to the side to hit Larry. They keep working over Larry. Larry was able to get up. He gets his knees up off of a Candido splash. There's a Tony hot tag, which involves punches, 2 body slams before he's cut off because Tony sucks. It breaks down into all 4 men in the ring. Larry and Tony do a double sunset flip spot to Hotbody Candido to win. That sucked. Tony and Larry suck. Hotbody looked bad tonight. Candido looked fine. Hotbody and Candido jumped the champs to win, but they were both pinned in the middle of the ring pretty decisively. Then Morocco was Paul Heyman versus Glenn Osborne. Heyman says Philly finally has a true champion in Don Morocco. Snuka is laughing and talking to himself at ringside. That's horrifying. They cut back to the ring. They cut back to the camera, and Snuka's just staring into the camera now, just stone-faced, and that's even more horrifying. Don pulls Glenn's hair while the ref is distracted by Paul. One fan is fucking pissed at this. They love their Glenn Osborne. I don't know why. This match is so slow. Don Morocco can't do nothing. He's 20 years into his career. Jimmy Snuka's 27 years into his career. And this is a man who's going to be fighting for the world title. Don Morocco eventually hits a Samoan drop. There's a headbutt, knockdown. Eventually, Glenn is able to fight back with a headbutt that knocks down Don, and then a bad clothesline also knocks down Don. They do an awkward running stun gun where Glenn is running at Don. Don picks him up and just awkwardly drops him on the top rope. He hits his weird fucking tombstone. It always looks like he's going to kill somebody to win. That sucked. This is not a good episode of ECW for matches. Even worse than usual. Bad. Which brings us to our main event of the evening. Like I said, a quicker episode because in a fourth of the show is a replay of the tag title match from last week that I didn't watch. For the ECW title, Sandman versus Rockin' Rebel. The women are banned. This has been a 6-week feud. This is a blow-off match. They come back, like, I guess the match is running in progress or whatever, and Sandman's hanging over the top rope. Just half of his body is outside the ring. He's reaching for Rebel, who's on the outside. Rebel refuses to get in because Sandman's puppy guarded. So Sandman eventually just runs to the outside and gets him, but it turns bad for our Surfer friend very quickly as he's thrown shoulder first into the ring post. Rock and Rebel's now working over to Sandman. He hits an eye rake and a drop kick. They keep on going back and forth. Rebel's beating off. Rebel's beating up the Sandman. Disgusting. Sandman's eventually able to fight back, and he does a ground and pound like the world's fattest, weirdest dressed UFC fighter. Eventually, Rebel goes back to the outside and does some more stalling. Sandman, to try to get Rebel back in the ring, lays on the mat. And usually when this happens, the heel will run back in and like try to drop an elbow or kick him, and the face will move. Sandman didn't think that far ahead, because Rebel just ran in and just started kicking Sandman. Sandman got his ass kicked. Rebel hits a clothesline and then a leg drop for a 2. Sandman's able to fight back. He does his one leg drop kick that he always does and looks like he doesn't mean to flip over. He has a suplex for 2. Right after the suplex, Rebel immediately fights back with an eye rake. They do a double down from punches, where they both punch each other and they both go down. They eventually make their way back up to their feet, and they do a double down right again for clothesline. Sandman's never been a cardio monster. I don't know much about Rebel, so 2 double downs in a row. Tigra runs down despite all women being banned. Peaches chases her and tackles her in the ring. Women having an amateur wrestling role where they're not doing like the typical WWE cat fight where they grasp each other. Yeah, just roll around the ring. They're like rolling for leverage here. These women are going for the NCAA title. I don't think that was right. The bell rings. Who won? I don't know. I don't know which one got disqualified. I don't know. The match is just thrown out. Sal Balemo and his black mask, Super Destroyer number 3, walks out with 2 slices of pizza, gives 1 slice to a fan. Sal's hitting Super Destroyer number 3, and next week we'll see the in-ring debut of Super Destroyer number 3 as he lifts his mask to eat a slice of pizza. And that was how the show ended, with Sal Balemo playing a Super Destroyer, eating pizza. This was one of the worst episodes of ECW in the 7 weeks. This may be the worst episode of ECW in the 7 weeks. There was nothing great. The good was whenever Paul Heyman talked. The meh was Funk on a Farm because he wasn't crazy. He talked about the match, but he was kind of subdued. The bad was a Backstage Blondes promo. There wasn't really much to it. Sandman versus Rebel was a bad match, but by default, the best match of the card. And Sal Balemo being a Super Destroyer, the horrible. Was Gilbert and Snooker versus JT Smith and Max Thrasher, a fucking Max Thrasher heel turn. The Blondes versus Larry and Tony. And it was not a fucking good match. Like, the Larry and Tony are horrible. I think I only forgave them because they were in the ring with guys who are somehow worse than them. And the Super Destroyers, even Hot Body looked bad. Candido looked fine. Don Morocco versus Glenn Osborne. Glenn Osborne sucks. Don Morocco's way past his prime and can't do shit. And the finish to Sandman versus Rebel was horrible because the match just ended. This was a terrible episode of ECW. Not worth watching. Probably worth just removing it from the network. But that brings us to next week. ECW Hardcore TV Episode 8 from May 25th of 1993. The episode opened with a recap of Paul Heyman, Todd Gordon face-off from last week and Don Morocco's promo. Stevie Wonderful and Jay Scully welcome us to the show. They do like the little back and forth banter, and I think I'll try to get like more examples, quotes up from him next week. But I think Stevie Wonder's are wonderful. I think she's more clever than he is. Like, he tries to make, like, the snide comments that, like, a Jerry Lawler or a Bobby Heenan would, but he has nowhere near the comedy or the intelligence of Bobby Heenan or Jerry Lawler, and it just comes off bad. Which brings us to our opening contest. HD Rider was EZ Rider. I guess these are the Hell Riders. I finally know their first names. HD's the one in the match. Takes on Super Destroyer number 3, which is Sal Balemo in a mask, but the rest of his gear is exactly the same. Right as the match starts, Sal Balemo lifts his mask and looks at the camera so we know it's Sal. No subtlety here, just seeing this big fat guy in Sal Balemo's gear. We want to be able to figure out the joke if he didn't lift his mask. Super Destroyer does moves, like a headbutt and a knee drop to the head. Lifts his mask again. The announcer say this Super Destroyer is a wild man. If you couldn't tell, I don't give a fuck about this match. The only thing I did notice is that HD Rider in 1993 looks kind of like Chris Jericho in 2021. Like his hair, his tattoos, his body shape. He kind of looks like Chris Jericho. Super Destroyer hits a splash to win. There was nothing to this match. I got distracted. I didn't take notes. The Super Destroyers ran down and beat up Super Destroyer. Sorry, had a long day. Hunter Q. Robinson says something, but the mic is bad. I think he says he's going to sue Sal Balemo for being one of the Super Destroyers. One Super Destroyer pushes the referee, and they keep on beating up Sal Balemo. Hunter Q. Robinson does karate chop slaps, where it's like he's going to slap Sal, but he somehow turns a slap into a karate chop. One Super Destroyer was holding a rope. It looked like the tag rope. I thought he was going to use it to choke Sal, but nope. He just holds it. It wouldn't be a Super Destroyer segment if something just didn't make sense or was just plain bad. It was overall a bad segment, but at least the announcers sounded like they were having fun, making his puns about the Super Destroyer being a wild man, I guess. For the tag titles, a rematch from last week, Larry Wintows and Tony Stenson versus Sir Christopher Candido and Sir Jonathan Hotbody. How the fuck did Candido and Hotbody get this rematch? They lost clean to the champions last week. Not only did they lose, but both of them were pinned in the middle of the ring. The ref did a double count. You can't really have more decisive of a loss than that. Larry and Tony jump them at the beginning of the match like it's a blood feud. Tony Irish whips Hotbody for like, oh yeah. So Tony, because Tony Stenson fucking sucks. I think he's like the worst after the Super Destroyers. All four guys are in the ring, by the way. This is still like when the match is broken down at the beginning. Tony goes to Irish whip Hotbody. He goes down like you've seen every single pro wrestler do when they're about to hit a back body drop. I thought he's going to hit a back body drop. Sir Jonathan Hotbody thought he's going to hit a back body drop. The only person, Christopher Candido thought, well, my partner's going to get hit with a body drop. Larry Winter thought, my partner's going to hit a back body drop. The referee thought, oh, there's going to be a back body drop. The announcer were like, we have to call a back body drop. The fans thought, wow, we're about to see a back body drop. Every person in the world who was watching this thought, we're going to get a back body drop. One individual was not thinking that. One individual never had the idea of a back body drop cross his mind. Apparently he had nothing cross his mind because Tony Stenson just stayed bent down. He never did anything. He never did a back body drop. He never went up for, to get him up for a flapjack. Never a shoulder tackle. He just stayed bent down. And fucking Hotbody ran into him, realized that this fucking useless piece of shit isn't doing anything. And so he did run into him, so he sort of held his gut, selling it he got headbutted in the gut. And then I guess Tony, realizing that he has to do something in this match, he can't just stand still, he punches him. Oh, fucking hell. Larry immediately hits a back body drop to Candido to show his partner, wow, you're fucking useless. There's a double noggin knocker spot where Hotbody's in the corner. and Tony and Larry grab Hot Body. They grab Candido. They knocker him. They go to do a double hip toss to Hot Body, but somehow, who fucks it up again? But Tony Stenson. He fucking mistimes the hip toss, so like he's falling through his emotion as Hot Body's already like on the ground. He's like going through his emotion way after Larry had already hip tossed him. The faces, I guess, clear the ring. Larry and Candido, they do some regrouping on the outside. Candido and Larry are the guys who actually start off the match after that shit show of a fucking brawl. They do some basic, like, early match chain wrestling stuff, like headlocks and shoulder tackles and leapfrogs. And it was very basic, and Larry was running the ropes very slowly. But in 1993 ECW, in the 8 weeks I've seen, it's some of the best actual wrestling you'll see. Larry, he gets back in and out with a tag. Like, he goes to tagging Tony. Tony does maybe one move and tags right back out. Tony's useless, but it's probably for the best. Larry, who's not on his game the past 2 weeks, he does a super kick to Chris Candido's nipple. They keep working over Candido. They do the spot where the faces ping pong the heel. So Larry on the inside punches Candido, turns around. Tony on the apron punches Candido, turns around. They go back and forth. They keep beating up Candido, who's eventually able to tag out. And something I've noticed about ECW tag outs, or like cutoffs, there's no like big momentum change in cutoffs. Like, the guy will just take a move and immediately get up, or immediately start throwing a punch, or immediately do an eye rake. There's no suspense or drama to it. Candido's able to fight back, and he tags in Jonathan Hot Body. Hot Body does a pretty nice stalling suplex and a sidewalk slam for a 2 count. They keep working over Larry. And Larry is getting his ass kicked for a good chunk of this match. Larry is able to fight back with a DDT on Hot Body. And a fan is bowing to Larry Winters. Both men are down now, and I will admit, I do like this spot. How they started to get up is that Larry crawled up in Hot Body and Candido's corner. Hot Body crawled up in Larry and Tony's corner. So Candido punches Larry on the outside, so Tony punches Hot Body. Both men stumble backwards, selling the punch, but Larry's the first man to punch Hot Body, and Hot Body goes down. You think this would lead to a hot tag, but no. Larry realizes that fucking Tony sucks, so Larry stays in the ring to do some stuff. Larry and Hot Body keep wrestling. They've been in the ring the longest time of any of these 4 men. Hot Body gets thrown to the corner, and Larry's gonna do a running knee into the corner, but Hot Body pulls a referee in front of him just deliberately. The ref goes down holding like he's selling his dick. It's the bottom picture of the thumbnail. I hope Larry legitimately got him in the balls. Hot Body holds Larry by the ropes. Like, it's broken out again. The ref's out. Tony got thrown outside because he's fucking useless. Candido, he's on the apron with a chain. He turns around, like, to wrap the chain around his arm very slowly, like Heel does, looking at the crowd. But he takes too long to wrap it around his fist. And Larry's able to elbow Hot Body. And right as Candido turns around, he gets punched in the face by Larry. But as he's selling the punches, Candido drops the chain into the ring for Hot Body to grab it. Larry keeps punching Candido. Candido will not fall, but eventually Candido does fall. Larry turns around, and Hot Body punches him now with the chain, covers him to win the titles. What a 2 weeks of champions run the fucking Larry Winters and Tony Stenson had. They had an entire feud with the fucking Super Destroyer since like episode 1 or 2 or 2. And all of a sudden, just after 2 weeks, they realized how fucking bad Tony Stenson sucked, so they had to get the titles off of him. Which is saying something, because they left the titles on the Super Destroyers for 280 days. But Tony was useless. Larry did everything. This match wasn't good. But what I can say on the positive note about the ECW tag titles is that since I've been started watching, the 8 weeks I've been watching, it seems that this title is on a consistent upgrade of champions. From the Super Destroyers, who are the bottom of the barrel dog shit, to Larry Winters and Tony Stenson, who suck but are better than the Super Destroyers, to Christopher Candido and Jonathan Hotbody, who are much better than either of the previous champions. This title seems to be on an upgrade. Candido and Hotbody are your champions, thank fucking God. Does that mean... No, Sandman's still a face. I was going to say every champion in ECW is a heel. We're now ringside with Todd Gordon. He said that the chain match is signed. He said to roll a tape of Terry Funk's promo on the chain match when Paul Heyman came out. He said, how can this match be signed when Paul Heyman never agreed to it? Todd Gordon said his match was made before you came in, you stupid fuck. Didn't say it exactly like that, but Heyman called Todd a small-time businessman. He says that the Sandman doesn't have the balls to face Don. He did say balls. He said, do you think it's an honor for him and Eddie Gilbert and Jimmy Snuka and Don Morocco, men who have wrestled in huge promotions in front of huge crowds, to be in front of like 25 to 40 people at most a show in the shithole known as Philly? No, it's not an honor. It's a fucking embarrassment. Todd said he's had enough of Paul's shit. He's not going to let Paul degrade ECW. Todd Gordon said to Paul Heyman, ECW will grow and Paul will be begging to work for ECW. And these early ECW promos hearing about Paul Heyman saying that how he's going to kill ECW, or how Todd Gordon's going to kill ECW, or how ECW is going to grow and Paul's going to want to work for it. It's really fucking a trip to listen back to, knowing how the actual story of ECW and Paul Heyman ended. Todd Gordon said Sandman ain't scared of Don and that he'll make the match. Don Morocco said Todd is as stupid as he looked, and he signed a death warrant for the Sandman. He said he will have the gold around his cumbersome waist. I looked it up, and cumbersome means large and heavy, therefore difficult to use or carry. So at least Don Morocco's being honest about his weight. Which brings us to... I've already gone for 2 matches? God damn. These matches suck. The third match on the night. Speaking of fucking matches that suck, Don Morocco is Paulie Dangerously and the rest of the Dangerous Alliance take on Ernesto Beneficio. Don looks like he's 2.5 times the size of Ernesto. All of a sudden, Snuka's just in the camera. That's when I realized everybody else is out there too. Ernesto does a shoulder tackle to Don. Don no-sells it. He went to the corner. He goes to the corner and just has like a minute conversation on Paulie's phone. Then he gives it back to Paul. The camera cuts to Paul. Now he's talking on the phone. If you want to like get a visual in your mind about how small Ernesto is, when I first saw him for a second, I was like, could that be Nunzio this early? And I had to look it up, and it's not Nunzio. I also looked up if it was Tony Mamaluke. I don't know when he debuted, because he is a little taller than Nunzio. But he's about the size of Nunzio or Tony Mamaluke. Ernesto and Don Morocco do a weak-as shit fucking lockup. It looked horrible. I will put this clip on Twitter so you can get a better understanding about it. But Don goes to Gorilla Press Ernesto. Ernesto looks like he weighs 140 pounds. Somehow Don Morocco loses Ernesto. But Ernesto starts to go down headfirst behind Don. Don grabs him by his one leg and holds on to him. Ernesto is now like in the deadeye position. Ernesto tries to rotate to the side. Don's holding him by literally one leg, holds him out to the side so that his back is adjacent to the mat so he can drop it so he doesn't land on the back of his head. It looked like fucking shit, but at least Don was able to hold on to him the entire time. And fuck, I don't know what Ernesto did. Don Morocco picks up Ernesto and just slaps him, so I'm guessing Don wasn't happy with that. And as mad as Don was, they fucking cut to Jimmy Snuka on the outside, who looks furious, and he's mouthing something to himself. So if I were Ernesto, I'd be terrified. Ernesto tries to make a little comeback, and he runs to the top rope. Don's still standing. Don's not knocked down or like scroggy. So Ernesto just runs to the top rope, jumps off. Don catches him, hits his horrifying tombstone. It looked like Ernesto landed right on the top of his head to win. It was horrible. I guess Don stopped a man from dying, but Jesus fucking Christ. I'm going to have to watch Don Morocco versus a Sandman. Holy fuck. There's a recap of the Terry Funk tractor pervert dummy promo from last week. That fucking insanity. Which brings us to match 4, our sleeper match of the night, actually. As the Canadian Wolfman and Max Frasher take on Tommy Cairo and JT Smith. Yes, 1 week while JT's not getting beat up by the Dangerous Alliance. Now going for revenge against Max Frasher, who turned on him last week. Somehow Wolfman and Tommy Cairo are involved. Wolfman and Max look like the worst stereotype of like a wrestler that like a non-wrestling fan could have. They're fat, they're ugly, they got no body, they got plain gear or no gear at all in like the case of the Wolfman, who just wears like bedazzled jeans. On the bottom of the screen, they do an announcement of some matches on a Summer Sizzler. I missed most of it. I read that Rock and Rebel will be in a street fight, but I didn't read who will be against. And I read Tigra versus Peaches in a cat fight where the only way to win is to tear off all clothes of your opponents. So I guess one of these two women will be naked by the end of the match. Steve, by the way, I will be watching Summer Sizzler. It's not a pay-per-view, but like all their little supercards that they do before pay-per-views in 97, I'll be watching them and adding them to the review. Stevie Wonderful says that Tommy Cairo reminds him of a young Rick Steiner, how they're built and how they wrestle. Right as Stevie says that, Cairo does a belly-to-belly suplex and a body slam to the fucking Wolfman, who's been the fattest man on this show, which was impressive. I was gonna say, impressed. Wait, what the fuck did I just... Oh, yeah. I was going to say I was impressed with what Tommy Cairo did there. But Tommy Cairo then did a leg drop with the wrong leg. And, like, leg dropped him in the chest. A second-hand man's been kicked in the chest tonight. JT comes in, and he does a jumping RVD kick to the Wolfman's arm. And then he does a fucking Northern Light suplex, throwing the Wolfman. Wolfman is, like... 2.5. He's fatter than Don Morocco. JT is not a big man, and Wolfman's getting thrown around. At least Tommy Cairo looks like he lifts pretty heavy weights. JT's just a skinny guy, and he throws him, which is impressive by Wolfman. Wolfman gets his ass beat. He's getting thrown around. Max gets tagged in, then immediately tags back out for Wolfman. JT suplexes Wolfman again, and then gets an exploder suplex. Cairo throws JT off the top rope onto Wolfman to win. This was a lot, maybe not a lot, but this was better than I expected going into it. Fucking Wolfman was taking some big throws, working his bump card tonight. Was not expecting it. In the 8 weeks, JT Smith finally gets his first win. Sad that he's in a feud with a guy like Max Frasher, but you know, what are you gonna do? Best thing probably in the 2 weeks just because of fucking Wolfman. Well, in terms of wrestling, Paul Heyman's promos blow everything out of the water. What are you going to do? For the TV title, this will not be better than expected, as Jimmy Snuka, making his first defense since winning the title like March, defends against Glenn Osborne, which I'm pretty sure was the finals of the tournament, but I'm not 100% sure, because right when I'm done reviewing these, they leave my mind, thankfully. Paul Heyman introduces Jimmy Snuka by saying the TV champion, and my, what a fine television production it is. They do a weak fucking lockup. Again, ECW's full of them. It's not even just with the older guys like Don and Jimmy. It's just everybody does a fucking weak lockup on this show. Snuka, he takes a clothesline where they're both running, and Snuka responds to this clothesline by turning around and falling over the top rope. Snuka gets back on the apron, and Glenn hits one of those Sheamus chest hits, and Snuka falls to his ass on the apron. That's the hardest part of the ring. That looks like it hurt his ass. They cut to ringside, and Don Morocco's is like seductively looking into the camera, leaning on the corner. I think Stevie took a shot at the Giant Gonzalez here when talking about Jimmy Snuka's muscles, saying there's no padded muscle suits here in ECW. All the muscles you see are real. This is 93, so Giant Gonzalez would be in the WWF. If you couldn't tell, there's not anything to talk about in this match with me talking about Stevie Wonderful, Giant Gonzalez, and Don Morocco. Glenn hits a monkey flip on Jimmy Snuka. He goes for a second one, but Snuka counters it, hits his backbreaker. And to be fair to Snuka, he hits big Superfly splashes. He goes like pretty far across the ring to retain. Snuka is 27 years into his career here, so he can't do much. This match was bad, but Snuka is still your ECW champion. And that was your main event match of the night. Back at ringside, Jay Scully and Todd Gordon, Eddie Gilbert comes out. He says that the Global Wrestling Federation was Gilbert Wrestling Federation, and ECW is Eddie Championship Wrestling. Eddie says that he has to be in a match that he's never agreed to, and that Todd Gordon has been doing this bullshit to him their entire lives. Todd Gordon said, what I've been doing to you your entire life, don't you think I forgot what you did to our family dog? And Eddie Gilbert said, you're lucky I didn't get my hands on the dog that you actually loved, because I would have poisoned it, I would have stabbed it, I would have murdered it, just because I don't like you. Then they cut to a Terry Funk promo. Todd Gordon sends it to a Terry Funk promo. He says that he's dealt with every animal, vermin, but called Eddie a lowlife. Apparently Eddie's also dealt with animals and vermin too, killing dogs out here. He said the fans in Philly know how to spot a good wrestler. They know what good wrestling is because they've seen the best of wrestling, and a lot of times in ECW they've seen the worst of wrestling. He says fans know how to spot a good wrestler, and Eddie ain't it. He's just all talk. He says the winner will be the King of Philly, and Terry Funk would love that. But he really wants Eddie to think about the chain match. Said that he's crazy and that he's tough, and that's how he's been in wrestling so long. And he plans to be in it a lot longer. Boy, Terry Funk called his shot there. He says that Philly fans are hardcore. I already said that. They've seen the best, they've seen the worst, and now they're about to see the most violent. It was a good promo by Terry Funk. They're better than his promo from last week. They cut back to Jay and Todd. Eddie Gilbert is gone. And they say how funny it is to see Eddie tuck his tail between his legs and run next week for the ECW title. Sandman versus Don Morocco, and that's how the show ends. This was better than last week. There's nothing great on it, but the good was Paulie's promos. I know it's shocking. Terry Funk's promo. Eddie Gilbert's promo about killing dogs. And ECW matches are sort of graded on a curve right now. Because by good, it wasn't good, but it was better than I was expecting. JT Smith and Tommy Cairo versus a Wolfman and Max Thrasher. All because of Wolfman taking his fucking bumps tonight in those suplexes. The meh was Larry and Tony versus Hot Biting Candido, which means it was definitely better than their last week. And you know what? We got better champions too, so that's good. The bad was HD Ryder versus Super Destroyer number 3 and Jimmy Snuka versus Glenn Osborne. And the horrible was Don Morocco versus Ernesto Beneficio. This was a tough 2 episodes to watch outside of Paul Heyman's promos. ECW will hopefully get better soon, but I say that, and we're probably about to have Don Morocco as champion. Although, I'm looking forward to Summer Sizzler. Things may turn around, because I like having to look down at the thumbnails, and like the next 2 weeks I'm going to be watching episode 9 and 10. And on episode 10 on the network on Peacock, the thumbnail for ECW is Todd Gordon shaking hands with Road Warrior Hawk. And I'm fucking excited to see what Hawk's going to be doing here in ECW. That was the review for the 2 weeks. Bad shows. Don't watch them. Yeah, there was no even Insane Terry Funk promo. Just don't watch these 2 shows. Well, next week I'll be coming at you with episode 9 and 10. And then, I don't know, probably Summer Sizzler, whenever the fuck that's going to be. Thanks for watching. See you next week.